All right, welcome to episode 19. Our second round of 18 holes, Chuck.
Or the 19th hole.
Or the 19th hole. Hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Perfect guess for the 19th hole.
We have the one and only Larry Murphy in the house. Murph, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm surprised I'm not until the 19th show, but but that works.
Well, your schedule, you're a busy guy.
Yeah. I'm busy doing a lot of nothing, but I'm trying to keep busy, trying to not be retired. That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, for the listeners that don't know, a little introduction here of Mr. Murphy. Larry Murphy, 50-year head golf professional at Moorhead Country Club. How many years have you been a PGA member?
Let me see, 1969. So what is that, 54?
54-year PGA member.
Good for you.
Yes.
And not only a PGA member, Murph, but you've been an exceptional PGA member, mentoring folks that have continued to have careers in the business. I'm one of those fortunate people that came to work for you. So it's just a treat to have someone that understands the game of golf, has impacted so many lives through golf, whether it's folks that have worked for you, members at your club. It's just a treat to have you on the show and to be able to maybe tell some stories about your career in the golf industry. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Larry.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
So did you always know you wanted to be a golf professional, or when did that come to you? Like, I think I'm going to do this for a living.
Well, no, I didn't always think about that. I grew up in the golf business because my dad was the sports editor at the St. Paul Pioneer Press, and his beat was Minnesota golf and the University of Minnesota football basketball programs. So when I was probably, I don't even know, 8 or 10 years old, I kept tagging along with him to golf tournaments all throughout the state, the state amateurs and the state opens and state PGAs. So he made me think about golf way back in those days. So as time went on, I played golf right away. I went to Highland Golf Course in St. Paul and took their junior lessons. We rode our bikes there, carrying our clubs just like we see kids doing now, over our backs, getting to Highland. And we would have to have a lesson from Went Christensen, the PGA professional there. So Went was the first PGA professional that had anything to do with me playing golf. We had to take the lesson, even though we couldn't wait to get on the golf course. And so we did that, and it was grip, stance, posture, the same stuff we teach now. And then we could go on the golf course. The whole thing cost like 10 cents, I think. Maybe it was raised to a quarter, which was just a stretch. But so we spent the whole day there doing that, and then it turned into 2 or 3 more days, and not of lessons, but us meeting out there and playing golf. Probably 10 or 12 years old at the time. Went on to play. There wasn't many junior golf tournaments at that time. It wasn't like it is now. There was a couple of state junior JC tournament, the state junior tournament, and then there were some shortstop tournaments around that you could play in as you grew older, not at that age.
High school? Did you have a high school team?
Sure. We had a high school team. I went to St. Paul Central. So I went on to St. Paul Central, and I played 4 years at St. Paul Central. And then, of course, my love for the game grew then. Our senior year, we were undefeated. We won the city, the region, the state, the Twin City. We won everything.
Wow.
So,
Who were some of your teammates? Did you have?
John
anybody?
Roberts. I think you know John Roberts.
Okay.
Teams were 4 count 3 at the time. So Mike Zidell, and then the 4th player was in and out.
Didn't you compete against one of the sections, Minnesota section PGA, which encompasses North, South Dakota as well as Minnesota? George Shortridge. Did you compete against George?
I did, in 2 sports, in hockey and in golf. So I have a scar from George right here from playing in Minnesota. I was a goaltender my freshman year.
Was this before masks?
Yes.
Did you have a mask on?
I was the first to wear a mask in high school hockey.
You were a goaltender?
I was a goaltender. Well, I wasn't. That's the other story. I wasn't a goaltender until my senior year.
You're not big enough to be a goaltender, Larry.
Yeah, but I'm a little.
You're quick. You're cat-like.
Yeah, that's right. I am. Yeah. Well, you should see.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, I did play against George. I grew up playing hockey, and hockey was different way back then. We played at the park system in St. Paul, so we went from I played at Linwood Park, and there were Yedgecombe and St. Mark's and all different places. So we kind of stayed within our district, we should say. My first time that I had played against George Shortridge in hockey was in the St. Paul City Conference. So back to, I was a goaltender. Well, I was a goaltender my senior year.
Okay.
So we didn't have a goalie. I was a catcher in baseball. And I said, well, I'll try this. So the spring of the year, they threw me in net and I did okay. So the coach said, okay, you can play for us. And we went on to finish second in the St. Paul City Conference.
Wow.
And my time with George Shortridge starts before that, because it was golf and hockey, but so we'll stay on hockey. So we played for the City Conference Championship, us and St. Paul, Washington, which is where he was from. We're tied at the time, and and we had one loss, they didn't have any, and so we played in the St. Paul Auditorium at the time, still there. I didn't know that it is still there, and so we had our championship game, and we ended up in a 3-3 tie. And George scored the tying goal on me with under a few minutes to go in the game. So I still to this day don't know how that went in. You know,
Yeah.
Isn't that? I mean, there's
You
no
were in the right spot.
replays.
You
I was up
felt
against the post.
Yeah.
I don't know how that even got past me, but I was up against the post. He came around and tried to stuff it, and next thing I know, it was in the net. So that starts that. Okay.
And you were already rivals on the golf course?
Oh, yeah.
So you knew each other?
Yeah, I never lost to him. How about
I
that?
love
In
that.
golf?
High school golf. Yeah.
Oh,
Did
I
not.
like this.
No, I did
Yes.
not. Yeah, I did not. No. We used to play 12. Well, okay. So the hockey goes on to, he and I both went to Minnesota. I went at the time, freshmen couldn't play varsity. So freshmen had to.
In hockey, you're talking?
Any sport.
Oh, any sport?
Any sport.
What was the logic for that?
NCAA. Go to school and school first and get used to
Wow,
school,
times
and then-
changed.
Oh, yeah, they've thrown that out the window.
Oh, they pretty quickly.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but that's
Now
curious.
Now they
Okay.
get paid. It's gone a long.
Right.
It's gone a long ways.
Right.
So
Think of the money you would have made back then.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I'd have all kinds. I'd have just like the NASCAR drivers all over my jersey. But so anyway, so we went on and played there. And when I went to Minnesota, they were not wearing masks in goal. So I didn't care. I mean, I was a goaltender, so didn't even think twice about it. So I went out there and played, and George shot from the corner. We had a little scrimmage going between the freshman team, and he shot from the corner. I did the splits. I'd show you, but I don't think it would be pretty right now. And the puck got caught right in the crease of my pad. You were a goaltender, you know what I mean. You understand the lingo. So it caught in the crease of my pad, came back and hit me right above the eye. So I still have a scar here from George Shortridge. So do we go back a ways? Yes, we do.
Wow.
So and then I went in the Navy after that. We'll get back to that in a little while here. But as far as golf is concerned, George and I were the same age, and we were head to head through the high school golf seasons each and every year. George, of course, was outstanding, and I was pretty good, and so we were both playing number one, and so not right away, my senior years. So we played against each other, and we played 12-hole match play, and we'd go after school. And we'd go to a golf course, and all the teams would be there, and we'd play a 12-hole match play. You get 1 point for the first 6, 1 point for the second 6, and 1 point for the total. So anyway, so George was the only player they had. They might have had one more player, but we were 4 deep. So so we, as I said, I was lucky enough to be with some good guys, and we were a good team, and we swept. We won everything, which was really, at the time it was just. I mean, we didn't know what that was worth at the time, but I look back at my mom saves the clippings like yours do, and so I look back, and it was a big deal. So we were good. So anyway, so then after that, George, of course, turned professional fairly quickly after his freshman year in college. He didn't play college golf, nor did I, and so he moved on and made a career and a big name for himself in local golf and even national golf. So yes, we were head to head in a couple of sports.
So you're at the University of Minnesota, and you're a good player. Both you and George are good players, but you're not going to go out and play on their golf team. Was that because they didn't recruit you, or how was that back then, or was college golf just not what it is now?
Not what it is now, but I surprisingly I was more interested in hockey, and I think he was too.
Oh,
and so we were asked to come out and play on the freshman team. I suppose in those days that's called recruiting, but we weren't going to go anywhere else. We both, if you lived in the cities, you went to Minnesota,
sure,
or maybe St. Thomas or McAllister or Augsburg or someplace like that. But we were, wanted to play hockey, so we went right to Minnesota. They asked us to come. There wasn't any letter of intent or anything like that. So we went out and played hockey. Les Bolstead was the coach at Minnesota. So we didn't get an opportunity to play college golf at Minnesota. Yeah. But on the other hand, we wouldn't have played as a freshman. We wouldn't even have played golf as a freshman.
Sure.
So
Different rules.
Totally
deal.
different rules. Yeah. I don't understand why, but
Yeah.
that's just the way it was. And it was what we knew and what we expected. So we went on and played. So we beat the varsity, by the way, hockey. And hockey.
The freshman team beat the varsity team.
Yeah. I'll date myself a little. Louis Nanny was a senior.
Oh, wow.
Oh, how did that go over? Beating the varsity?
Well, and we had to
Gophers
dress
team.
in the same locker room. We had to dress in the same locker room, and so we didn't have the freshmen we didn't have much clout. So, but then when we went out and a guy named Craig Falkman from St. Paul Johnson played on the Olympic team. We had a good freshman team. We beat them 6-5.
Wow.
And it was a full-fledged scrimmage for the full whatever we played then. I don't know, 15 minutes a period maybe at that time. We don't know what it was.
Would Lou remember this because I listened to him on the radio every once in a while with Barrero if we had you call in?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Because he's sharp.
Yeah,
Lou's sharp.
He might not want to
still
remember it.
No, he might not. Marsh Ryman was our coach, and let's see, the varsity coach was John Mariucci at the time.
Wow.
So
those are names.
Yeah, those are names. Yeah. So it was good. We practiced with them. We were their goon squad. If they were playing somebody else, then they would scrimmage against us, and then we finally had like an actual game that we played against them, and we
pretty
beat
neat.
them. Yeah,
it's pretty neat. We got a lot of subjects to cover, so I'm going to go back because you mentioned your dad, sports editor, St. Paul Pioneer Press. Was that what it was called at the time?
St. Paul Pioneer Press and Dispatch. The Dispatch was the evening edition, and the Pioneer Press was morning and Sunday.
Okay. You've told me a story once where he brought you out to Keller, I thought, for the St. Paul Open.
Every year, yeah.
Okay, and so Arnold Palmer is playing in his first U.S. professional event. I think that he had played the week before in Canada for the Canadian Open.
Okay, you know more than I do. Okay.
Well, didn't you get an opportunity to follow Arnold Palmer around for that tournament, his first tournament?
Well, not that tournament, but I believe the PGA Championship was at Minneapolis Golf
that's
Club
the one.
In 1959, I think is what it was. So I would have been a sophomore in high school at the time. So I picked up on Arnold Palmer right away. I think he won the 58 Masters. Is that right? 58, 60, 62, 64, something like that. Yeah. So I picked up with him at that time and followed him around all 4 rounds. I would go with my dad to all the golf tournaments. So St. Paul Open, yes, I was hanging around there.
Because that was a big event back then. That was a tour event, right? St. Paul Open. Okay.
And they all came here. All of them, Suchek, Littler, Hogan, everybody came to the St. Paul Open. So it was a regular event on the PGA Tour at Keller. So yes, I was there, but the one that really I remember most was picking him up and following him around Minneapolis Golf Club for 4 straight days. And watching him hit shots, and he didn't win the tournament, but he played well, and there wasn't a lot of people following at the time. So I mean, he'd be could almost walk with them. Yeah. The ropes were there, but
there was no Arnie's Army as they grew to come.
Not then. So and then he went on to win the 60 Masters after that. So the highlight of my time there was and of course it's all embellished by this time, but he was playing, I believe, the 8th hole at Minneapolis Golf Club, and he was up against a tree. He flipped a 7-iron over, so the toe was on the ground, and hit it 20 feet from the hole from about 150 yards. And I thought, I'll never forget that, and I've never forgotten that shot.
Left-handed?
Yeah, left-handed. Yes. Yeah. Flipped it over and hit it left-handed. 20 feet from the hole from about 150 yards.
Awesome.
So I followed him. He gave me a wink at one time because he knew I was there all the time because there weren't that many people.
Yeah.
So, Arnold Palmer was
you'll never forget it.
My hero.
You were able to tell him that. So I was privileged enough to be with you at Arnie's course, Bay Hill.
Yes.
I don't know how many years ago, maybe 10 years ago now. Let's just say 10.
Yeah, time flies.
And we're in there having lunch. We've got a group of 8 of us, and we're going to have lunch. And who's sitting about 3 tables away from us? But Arnie Palmer's having lunch.
Wow.
And Arnie gets up to leave, and you very respectfully, I believe is how this went, you went over and introduced yourself. Do you want to tell a story? Do you remember what?
Well,
you had an opportunity.
Keep going, I'll do the.
Well, I mean, you introduced yourself and golf professional, and I thought that you reminded him that you were there, his first professional tournament after the Canadian Open, and he remembered it. He remembered St. Paul Open. He remembered the PGA. I mean, he was really sharp when it came to what, he didn't talk about the 7-iron upside down shot left-handed, but he remembered. He might even offer that was my first professional tournament in the States.
Wow.
Well, what an opportunity, Murph.
Oh yeah,
for you
that really was. And he remembered my father. So
that was the other
even
thing.
better yet. Yeah, my dad was a cigar smoking old time reporter that would interview everybody and became buddies with that. The PGA Tour at that time was much smaller in participation and it was great golf. But my dad loved golf, so he was around it all the time. And when they came to town for that, he had interviewed these guys, several years in a row, so they became friends.
Arnie remembered him.
Arnie remembered him, yes. And you remember, Johns, when we were at our table, we were saying, "That's him. He's over there. He's talking to that couple over there." And we're in his club having lunch at Bay Hill's dining room, lounge, whatever it was. Wow. And we kept talking back and forth. Should we say something? Should we talk to him? And so then that went on where I introduced myself and said we're PGA professionals and we're here lucky enough to be playing at Bay Hill, and he looks you right in the eyes and he talks to you like you're his best friend.
Wow.
And so we had a nice conversation with him there. Then we go over to hit balls, and here he comes driving up. Comes driving up to the range, and he's going to hit balls, and he has clubs on his cart. But as we talked, he probably never has a chance to hit balls because people are always wanting to get pictures and talk to him. And he talked to us again. You remember that?
He did.
He looked at us and he started the conversation and talked to us on the range.
Took pictures with us.
Yeah, took pictures. Still have it, of course. Always, I'll have it forever. And then we go out and play golf and get done. And we're told, I think we knew before, that we could go in the grill and have a beer or a pop or whatever.
The men's grill, Chuck. It's a combo men's locker room and bar and grill at the same time. So, I mean, you might be having a burger and a beer and look to your left and there's a guy just walking out of the shower.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
it's old school.
It's old school. Well, you remember what happened then. Of course, Mr. Palmer's coming in. If you guys want to hang around for a little while, I'm sure he'll come in here. So he comes in and he's just like we were trained to do, Mark. He's shaking hands with all the members. He's patting them on the back, talking to them about their rounds. And he comes over and what does he do? Sat down right with us.
Did he really?
Sat down right with us.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, and we got a chance to talk to him for the third time. So
wow,
I mean,
that's special.
Yeah, what you hear and what you see is all true.
Yep,
that's just the way he is. Mm-hmm. And as I said, he's not looking around when he's talking to you to see who else is there. He's looking right at you and talking directly to you. So he was quite a man.
I need to do a little clarification on that story. Yes, he did that, and then he was sitting up at the bar, and our guys got a little antsy. We had 8 of us, and they said, "We're going to go do some shopping in the golf shop, and let's get back to the condo." And Mark Holm and I are going, "You guys are crazy. Arnold Palmer's hanging in the bar with us right now. Why would you ever leave this?
It's
4:00 in the afternoon. I don't need to get back to the condo."
Right.
So those guys go shopping, and Homer and we decide we're going to play some gin rummy. And Arnie comes back and sits with us. He doesn't start playing gin rummy. We stopped the game, but we're visiting about his grandson that's playing the PGA Tour, and it's just Mark Holm and I with Arnie.
Wow.
Well, I don't know which one of the 6 of you guys peeked your head back in to tell us, "Hey, it's time to leave." Might have been Bob Cahill, maybe David Richardson, and they see Arnie sitting at the table with Mark Holm and me, and all of a sudden everybody was back in.
And then we came back.
Sure. Everybody was back in.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's an amazing guy.
In
My mind, it was a legend meeting a legend, Murph.
Wow, that's humbling.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if that's all true, but he is a legend, and of course we all know that.
All right.
There's only one. There's only one.
Now we're going to fast forward. I want to talk a little bit. You served in the Navy, correct?
I did.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
That's how many years were you in the Navy?
I was 6 years of service and 2 years active duty in Japan.
Good for you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you had an opportunity to play a little golf.
I did. Yeah, we had a championship 7,000-yard golf course right on the base at Atsugi Naval Air Station outside of Tokyo. And so when I went over, here's another story about that. The communications weren't what they are today, of course. So I couldn't take my cell phone and have international rates and call my dad. So I sent a letter and I said, Dad, I didn't know we have a 7,000-yard golf course here. I need my golf clubs. So he's, okay, 8 days later, I get a letter back, sent him. And I sent him back and said, well, how are they coming? What he said, I sent them by ship. so
slow boat.
Slow boat to Japan. Yeah. So about 3 weeks later, I get my golf clubs and I'm so excited waiting for them, and now it's 4 or 5 weeks since I first found out that I could have them. So I was very lucky. I worked I was a yeoman, third class at the end. And my office for a VQ1, a squadron on the base, my office, if I went out the back door, I was 100 yards from the first green.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I mean, I couldn't have dreamt this up.
It was meant to be.
So yeah, it was meant to be. So I played a lot of golf when I was in the Navy, and I got to play with a lot of officers, and I mean, golf is a neutralizer. So nobody cares when you go to the golf course whether you're an admiral or a first year enlisted. So, but you can play golf, so you go out and play. So I got a lot of chance to play with that. I played on the squadron team, the base team, so we traveled around playing against the Air Force and the Army and every base there, surprisingly. And I looked it up the other day. I think Camp Zama is still active, and so is Atsugi. But they all have golf courses. So they have this Admiral's Cup where you go around and you play at all those courses and you play against each of the other branches of the service team. So that was fun. I mean, I don't know if I thought anything of it. I don't know how lucky I was. Yeah. I think I was lucky. But back in the day when I'm 19, or 20, I was just glad I got off the base and could go someplace and play golf.
That's great.
So I did that while I was in the Navy, and it was first of all, I loved my service in the Navy, and I love my country, and I'm glad that I did that. So then to play golf is icing on the cake.
So the golf game's sharp. You get out of the Navy, and then is that when you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to work in the golf industry. What was that? What was the time frame between getting out of the Navy and going to work?
Well, I had when I came home, first thing that I did was I went to school at St. Cloud State. I had transferred to St. Cloud State from Minnesota. All my buddies were up there, so they said, "Come here," and I did. And that's nice. That's how I met Julie. She's a St. Cloud girl. So at that time, no, not really. I played in what was called the Peters Open, which was called the Tate Mark now. It's the same tournament. Bob Peters from Peters Meats had started the tournament way back when, and I played in it in my high school days. And when I came home, I did pretty well. And John Kahns, the head golf professional at St. Cloud, I was bartending at St. Cloud Country Club, and he came to me and said, well, do you ever think of being a golf professional? And he's a PGA member. And I said, well, not really. I haven't. Why? And he said, well, I need a person on my staff. Would you like to join St. Cloud Country Club as an assistant professional? So then that's what I did. I said, went home and talked to my dad and my mom, and they said, sure, if that's what you want to do, that's great. And I said, well, I've grown to have a passion for golf, so give this a try. It was easier then than it is now. All you did was say, I'm going to be a golf professional. And if you wanted to be a PGA member, that was different. We can go on about that. But so I started in working part-time in the golf shop at St. Cloud Country Club, really liked it. And so went on from there and spent 3 years at St. Cloud Country Club. Then I went to Hillcrest Country Club in St. Paul for a little over a year. And then
as head professional?
No. I was assistant.
Okay.
Both assistants. Yeah. 3 years at St. Cloud, one and a quarter years at Hillcrest, and then on to Moorhead Country Club from there. So, I grew to absolutely love everything about the golf business from the inside, from being in the golf shop.
So were you the first head pro at Moorhead, or were you an assistant there first?
No. I a good friend of mine, some of the older people will remember the name Jim McElhaney, and I had become friends when I was an assistant. He was at Braemar in a suburb of Minneapolis, in Edina, I think it was where Braemar is. Yep. And so he and I had played in some tournaments together and had developed a friendship. And he, in 1968, got the head professional job at Fargo Country Club. So he called me and said, "There's the job open across the river. You need to look at that." Well, I hadn't been far north of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area other than St. Cloud, so I thought, "Where is Fargo Moorhead?" I had no idea. So I in the meantime, I forgot the other part. Julie and I got married in 1966, and we were traveling back and forth to Phoenix. I got a job at a driving range teaching, so I would go there in the winter, and then back to St. Cloud Country Club, and then Hillcrest in the summertime. So I returned from my winter job in Phoenix teaching golf, and when I came in the house at my mother's, she said, "Here's a message. This Jim McElhaney called for you here." So he had already talked to me about it, but he said, "You got to get a hold of them. They're going to make a decision pretty soon." So then I called and got an interview and came up here and was offered the job. So I took it in 1969.
69.
I love this story. I think Julie, of course, St. Cloud gal, she hadn't been north either. And when you went to interview, it was in West Fargo, maybe at O'Kelly's or Biltmore, or where was the interview at?
Yeah, we stayed at O'Kelly's at the Oak Manor. Is that
Oak
right?
Manor.
Yeah. We stayed. They've had us a room there. Yeah.
And she said, "Oh my goodness, there's tumbleweeds blowing across Main Avenue."
It was the first part of March. We and I-94 hadn't been finished yet, so we came in on 52. And on 52, and Julie said she was sitting in the right-hand seat praying that I would not get this job.
Oh boy.
Okay. Hey, with that, we're going to talk. We're up against a break. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about your career here in Fargo Moorhead and the impact you've had. So Larry Murphy's our guest, PGA legend. We'll be back after just a short break. This segment is brought to you by the Sweet Shots Golf Academy, Golf Retail Center. Now's the time of year. Get fit for your new clubs. Come on out, have a putter fitting with David Booth. He's an exceptional mind when it comes to golf. All our fitters down there, Jim Bigelow, Lucas Johnson, they do a great job getting you ready for your season of golf. Now's the time to get fit, get your clubs ordered so they're here by the time the golf course is open. Sweet Shots Golf Academy. Let's get better today.
I think that's what it was. It's LJ saying. I'm pretty sure that's right.
So we need to make mention, and it just slipped our mind. LJ is not here today. Lucas is not here today.
I just noticed that.
Yeah. And for those listeners that have grown to love Lucas and
we all do.
LJ, he has a week of PGA education.
Yep.
Murph, we were talking about how it was different when you went through. What you basically said, "Hey, I'm going to be a PGA member." You said, "I'm going to go to work as a PGA golf professional." I'm sure there was more to it than that. But Lucas has 5 days of video lecture, 8 to 5. And I assume there's going to be some type of exam at the end of the week.
Sure.
But he has to do it as part of his process to become a PGA member. There's literally 3 levels, and this is his first level. So it takes him out of normal activity for the week. So
he wanted to be here.
He did want to be here, but he's got to.
We said focus. You got bigger things, and we've neglected to tell our listeners where he was and tell them.
Well, we got going with Murph, and it was so much fun. This is the first break we've had to really talk about LJ.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I don't even know how many points his fantasy team had.
Not many, I'm sure.
All right, we're back with Larry Murphy, longtime PGA member, really golf legend in our region. We're going to talk about your time at Moorhead Country Club. Rare, Larry, is there a situation where a golf professional, maybe in any industry, somebody would stay at their same job or same facility, when we're talking specifically a golf course, for 50 years. I spent 15 years at Fargo Country Club, 10 years at a facility before that. 50 years, you had to have seen. First off, congratulations.
Yeah,
the members of Fargo Moorhead, members of Moorhead Country Club.
Yep.
Just what a privilege to have one golf professional for 50 years. Can you tell us, do you realize it's 50 years? I mean, are you into it and going, yeah, I'm going to get to 50? Or are you just having so much fun, the years just tick off, and before you know it, that's what happens?
That's more like it. But I want to clarify one thing. We left off with Julie praying, not that I was not going to get the job at Moorhead.
Oh, that's right.
So I want to clarify that for all my beloved members at Moorhead Country Club. We were offered the job, so we obviously took it, and 47 years is what it actually was at Moorhead Country Club.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why am I throwing 50 at it?
I don't know. I'm not that old, Mark. But that's,
I thought you started in. You're right.
40,
Of course, you're right.
47 years, and we're the lucky ones. And we Julie and I are just blessed that we were able to be at Moorhead Country Club with those wonderful members for 47 years. That's just it was just like a dream come true.
Because you get to know the
thank you to
members.
Moorhead Country Club membership.
Yeah, you get to know the members. You get to know their children. You get to know their grandchildren. I mean, it really is a family situation. You're invested personally, emotionally, as much as it's a job.
That's right. And time flies by. I mean, it just as you said, it just all of a sudden it's 10 years and then 20 years and then 30 years. And we absorbed ourselves into the community and our church and our friendships. And so did it ever enter our minds to leave? Not really. You know, we had an opportunity or two, but it just did not match what we were already in at Moorhead Country Club with friendships and family and the community itself. Fargo Moorhead is just a great place to be.
Yep.
So
Great place to raise a family.
I was just going to
Great
bring
place.
that up.
Great
We both
place.
had the opportunity to grow up with your children, your daughters,
Yep.
similar ages to us. Great people. Thank God they take after Julie, Larry, to have
That's
great people.
That's so true. Yeah. They are Julie's children, that's for sure.
Went to school with your daughters and in this community. I mean, that's probably why you guys stayed rooted here in Fargo Moorhead, right? Is opportunity to see them grow and go to school here in town, and that's a big part of the community and why you stayed, I'm sure.
Well, you know, you I'm sure you have had different opportunities also, but you know, nothing really compares to what we have in Fargo Moorhead as far as the community is concerned, and as far as friendships and schools, and as they get older, it gets more difficult to pull them out of school and to leave and to go somewhere else. So, you know, like I said, we're blessed. We're blessed to have been at one club for that long. And develop all those family friendships, as you said, Mark, and to watch their children grow and their children's children grow, and to be involved with them in what I love, which is golf. That's just doesn't get any better than that.
You know, one thing I've noticed as an outsider, and I was a member kind of in the tail end of your career there at Moorhead Country Club, so I got to see it firsthand, Larry, your interaction, and Julie too. Julie being there often, and just the way you guys were quick to come up and welcome everybody that came. Love that. I appreciated that. I think of the golf industry and PGA kind of like a coaching tree. And you look in the NFL, and you always talk about these legends that have been coaches, and then where these additional coaches, those assistants, have landed. You guys have quite the group, and I know you guys have traveled. If it's taken trips to South or if it's abroad, can you speak a little bit about how many pros, assistants that have worked for you, Larry, that have gone on into the business? That in itself is something to be very proud of, Larry.
Well, that's what we're most proud of, is the young men that have come to work for us, like Mark and all the others. And I'm not going to mention names; I'll forget somebody. But
Sure.
We've had some high quality individuals come to us and ask if they could work at our golf shop, and Julie and I take great pride in watching them develop into the people that they are as they move on. And lucky enough to have had 12 head golf professional PGA members.
Wow.
Some still working.
Yep.
that have come through our golf shop. Other than that, the number of young men and women that have worked in the bag room, picking the driving range, cleaning carts, and did not decide to get in the golf business or moved on. We're so proud of all of them. And, you know, you work in a golf shop like that, you learn a lot of things. My number one story is that I had several who would come to work in the golf shop, and boys and girls, and they were shy. They wouldn't look you in the eyes, and if they were talking to you, you could hardly say. You'd have to say "speak up," and that would be in their first year. Yep. So then the second year, they're talking a little more. They're starting to look people in the eyes. And by the third year, they're asking members questions. How was your round? How did you play? You know, how was your lunch? Whatever it would be. And they would start conversations, looking them in the eyes. Yep. And then by the fourth year, you can't shut them up. I mean, that's I don't mean that like it is, but they develop into personable young men and women, and they go on to be very successful. And I've had so many of them come back and say, thank you for hiring me, because it was the best time of my life. And I turned into what I am today because I worked in the golf business, not necessarily me, in the golf business at a club where the members took pride in the people that were working there, and then moved on to be executives and people like Mark owning a business. And,
well said.
and so that's
Something to be proud of.
That's number one. That's number one in our minds. All of the above. So
I'm glad you brought that up, Chuck, because Larry, what you did a great job. You created a culture, probably before there were books on how you create a culture. Right now in business, there's how to manage managers, how to do this, how to create culture. You were doing it without a roadmap. I mean, and it was just who you were. And there's one way to do it, and it's the right way. It was the Murphy way. And I think it's not an accident that all those, well, first they wanted to come work for you. I'm talking about PGA members that have gone on to be successful. Because quickly you got a reputation. I want to learn the business from Larry Murphy because he did it the right way. And for those to move on, and then they have their own job, and then they share that with their assistants. There are folks out there in the industry, Murph, that you have touched, but you didn't directly manage them because of the skills that you taught. If it's Bob Cahill in Grand Rapids, if it's David Richardson in Rochester Country Club, and the hundreds of staff members that they have, you've also had an influence on them. So it's not just the 12 head professionals, Murph. It's your impact, and I think that's why you're recognized as a Hall of Fame PGA member in the Minnesota section of the tri-state area. People realize the impact you had on people and on golf. So,
well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Very humbling. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Moorhead Country Club. I have a question. Just a couple. We gotta have a couple fun questions, maybe. What was? Did you ever have a situation? Not all members are great. Did you ever have a situation, Murph, where maybe there's a situation, you don't have to name names, but there's a situation that maybe you had to come to the defense of one of your staff members, or maybe a member just got a little out of hand and it challenged you personally at all? I don't have a story in mind. I'm just curious.
No, our members were all just perfect.
Murph, you're not working there anymore. Half those folks aren't going to listen.
No,
do you have anything that just, you can't believe this happened?
Well, we had one staff member, to be unnamed, the person, who was just extremely outgoing and fun to be around. And he was not in the business, but he was working in the golf shop. And I put him in charge of repairing clubs and getting clubs packaged up. And we sent clubs away at the time. You do that all here right now, but to be reshafted to the cities. And we had one member who was, just a kind of a tinder keg, I guess. He could go off at any time. And he broke his 7-iron. So I gave it to this individual, and I said, now we got to get this in, get it in today, and find out how long it's going to take. And it usually took a week to 2. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we told our member that. Well, so that we sent it away. And of course, obviously, because he had something on us, he came in 2 days later and says, my club back yet? And of course, I would say no, but he would be looking for this young person that was working in our golf shop, I believe a senior in high school, something like that. Yeah. So he would keep looking for him all the time. So he kept doing that day after day. Well, finally, the club hadn't come back in about 10 days or 2 weeks. And this guy looked in his bag. And of course, we replaced it with a 7-iron, but not the same as what he had.
Something for him to use.
Yeah, something and because of the club, he wasn't playing very well. He couldn't hit that 7-iron. He wanted his back. So there was a door between the front room and the back room of our golf shop. And this guy was getting madder by the day. And I kept my young man away from him. So I didn't want him to have to deal with him at all, because I knew what he was all about. So happens one day, and members never really came through the bag room to get into the front room. But one day, this young man was up in front talking with me, and he was working in the bag room. He opens the door, and sure enough, this guy is standing right in the doorway. And he wanted to strangle the young man in the front room, I think,
over a 7-iron.
Yeah, but he not physically. He wouldn't have done that, but he verbally took off after him. And so I had to step in and say, "Now, just a minute, Mister So and So, that's not even fair." I mean, the club was sent when you gave it to us. It's not. We would have driven it there into the cities and brought it back if we knew this was going to go on, but this shouldn't be like this. So leave him alone and step aside and move. No, don't do this anymore. So happens you get into those situations, and that person became a good friend.
Oh,
That
sure.
point forward. Not of me, not only of me, but the young man. But you should have seen that high school senior when he opens the door and there's the guy standing like he was a statue standing there, and he took off after him. So that wasn't very much fun. But we had so much fun with other members. We had one member who was playing with his Saturday morning group, and he in fact, the same guy left his dog in the car, left his car running during the summertime and the air conditioning on while he went out and played golf. There was story after story. Mark knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And story after story. He had a box of toilet paper that he had purchased from one of our members who sold it, put it in the back of his cart, and as he was playing, the box fell out and rolled down and went into a pond.
Oh, jeez.
And so he throws it back in the cart, and as he's driving back, and his group didn't bring it in, he just kept playing. He had like 5 holes to go. The toilet paper rolls kept falling out of the back because the box was wet and it broke open.
Geez.
So I mean, there's just
TP in the fairway.
TP in the fairway, yeah. So you could see exactly where he was. He hooked the wet one on that hole because
You're right.
4 rolls of toilet paper over there. He hit it over on the right.
That's
But
hilarious.
yeah, that was. And there's so many in that many years of all the great times we had with members.
But that's
and
part
all
of the
funny stories.
Part of the blessing of being in the golf industry. Every
is.
day is a little different,
It
and you're
is.
dealing with people,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
people are different. You know, they could be having a good day, they could be having a bad day. So you throw 300 different people that you see in a day, and it could be an adventure.
Yeah,
It
that's
could
right.
be an adventure.
Well, and that's why we loved it, Mark, right? That's why we love the business because we expected that after a certain number of years, and you learned how to handle those situations. It's how I can, not why I can't, which was always our motto.
Yep.
You know, how I can, not why I can't, and it was a joy. Every day was just a treat. I've said all the way along, there wasn't a day in my career where when I got up in the morning, I wasn't just very excited to go to work.
Good for you.
And so yeah.
Found
Yeah.
something
I was
to be
lucky.
passionate
I was
about.
lucky.
Yep.
I was lucky. I did what I wanted.
Well, Mark, I know you're going to jump into DFS, but before we do, for our listeners now, you're still
Yep,
in
I
the
wanna-
golf. You want to touch a little bit
No,
about
go
that?
ahead.
Yep.
You own it. Yep.
So you're helping Coach Kennedy as an assistant coach for the NDSU boys team. You want to talk a little bit? How many years? How long you've been doing that?
You know, I tried 5 or 6. I can't remember.
Okay.
It's like the golf business. It just keeps
Yeah.
piling up, and Steve keeps me on, thankfully, and
Mhm.
and I develop great friendships with the young men that are on our team, and it's just a real treat to be able to do that. Yes, I like that. I'm lucky enough to work with a great friend of Mark's of mine, Greg McCullough at Edgewood. I do a couple of days there.
Okay.
I just can't get out. I mean, I don't want to quit doing what I'm doing. I love golf and I love other parts of it.
Good for you.
And so I'm lucky. I'm lucky to be helping with a very successful program at NDSU with a great coach in Steve Kennedy and great players that we have. This year should be, we're hopeful for this year. We should be, we should do all right. We're pretty good. So
We had Coach on, as well
We
as
did.
one of your players, Nate DeZiel, on as well.
Yeah.
As ahead of you. We apologize. They were prior to.
Well,
to
Murph
you
was
being-
busy.
He was busy. Murph was busy.
That's right.
But
That's right.
The,
Well-
the season looks exciting. It's going to be a fun season for you guys.
It does, yeah. And we start here pretty soon. We go to Savannah, Georgia, and we'll see. We'll see.
Good.
If everything all comes out the way it should, we should have a successful year.
Well, they are lucky to have somebody like you traveling
nice.
with them and
That's
being on the
nice.
golf course. You're a great presence for them. I always said when Lucas had an opportunity to travel the country with 2 people like Steve Kennedy, Larry Murphy, that sealed the deal to go play at NDSU. So
There you go.
Well, that's really nice of you. But I'm the lucky guy. Steve asked me to help him. I'll never forget. He came over on one of the last days I was at Moorhead Country Club, and I was putting carts away or something. And he said, "Would you ever think of coming to help me at NDSU?" And I said, "Well, let me think about that for a while." Okay, I will. Yes,
Just like that.
just like that. So I'm a volunteer coach, and
I love it.
and I love it. It's just some great friendships too.
Cool.
Steve's
right.
great. Steve's great.
And then one last thing too, I should mention, you're gonna have a legacy PGA member. Your grandson Matt Kula,
Mm,
who we're going to mention, he's in the business and doing quite well down in Arizona.
good for him.
And
Yes.
so congratulations with that, Murph.
Thank
I know that means a lot to you. Matt's had a great career, great start to his life in golf, and sounds like he's doing great down in Arizona.
He is. Yeah, we're very proud of him and happy for him. He's been around the country, Michigan, and he is an assistant golf professional at Whisper Rock. We're proud of that, and he's doing very well. Just like you and Lucas, we can travel along with the two of them together. They're both great young men. They're going to be great PGA members.
Yep.
So yeah, we're happy for Matt. He's doing what he loves, and that's, you can't ask for more than that for a grandson.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, we better talk some
Quickly.
fantasy golf. We're running out of time here. Last week, what a fun tournament.
Great tournament. Waste management.
Waste management. It's up against the Super Bowl, so it starts a little earlier on Sunday, but Scheffler repeats.
Yeah, boy.
Wasn't that something?
Yeah, and the scary thing is I heard him say he didn't necessarily have his A game.
Well, I think he only hit 5 fairways.
Is that what it was?
That
Yeah.
final day and shot 65, bogey free.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
we've played there, Mark, and that's not that easy, is it?
No.
And from the tips,
Yeah.
that's not that easy. They make it look easy.
They do.
they really do. They really do. So I don't know off the top of my head what Lucas had for points.
Either do I. So we'll have to maybe next week
To be
cover that.
continued
Yep,
as far as
TBD.
who's got the GOAT. But
Yep.
um,
So it's between you and I.
yeah, you want to go first? Go.
423.5. Uh-oh.
Yeah, 384.
Oh, yes. Did you have 2 missed cuts?
I had, Tom Hoagie,
Yeah.
who now our streak, we had him on the show, Murph, and he hadn't missed a cut since he came on the show, missed a cut. And then Montgomery. Is it Tyler?
Oh, yeah. He
Guy's
missed
been
it, didn't
solid, and he missed the
Yeah.
cut. Both
Okay.
of them missed it by 1 or 2. Doesn't matter. They missed the
he?
cut.
Missed the cut.
So I had 2 guys miss the cut. How about you?
I had 1, Morikawa.
Which that's a surprise.
Yep. I was shocked. Otherwise, the rest all got in. So
Well, congrats.
thank you.
Good plan.
Yep.
I did do some other dailies where I did well.
Yeah, I saw that.
Once I got a feel for what was going on.
And I think you told me just in passing your approach too. You took a couple of the top dog guys, right? And this was in a showdown, so a daily, a single entry. You went a couple top guys, and then you took chances in the 7K and just hoped to find somebody that got a hot hand like Patrick Rogers.
Yep, exactly. And I was actually in first for a long time, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a big payday. And it ran out where I didn't end up first. But exactly, I took Scheffler, Thomas, and Power, Thigala, and then I picked up a couple guys that strokes gained had done all right.
Yep.
And that information's out there through 2 or 3 rounds.
Yep.
And sure enough, P. Rogers shoots 65 that final day. So it was a lot of fun. I knew my team wasn't doing well, but if you can go in and pick a daily, it gives you something to root for,
It's fun.
even if you're having a tough week.
You can do $1 single entry.
Exactly.
And that data, I think that's important to share with the listeners, Mark, is if you're going to do a single day, especially like try a Saturday or Sunday, go out to datagolf, it's all one word.com, and they show tracking after the fact. Actually, they do live tracking of strokes gained from everything from tee to green, approach, driving, you name it. And you can sort by those categories, and you can see who's really hitting fairways, what's the approach game look like. And I tend to do that, Mark, but then I lean on guys that might have struggled putting. Maybe they're tee to green phenomenal,
Exactly.
but they struggled Saturday putting. I'm going to go, maybe they'll figure it out Sunday with the wand. They're going to continue to hit it good. That's been my approach, and I've had some pretty good luck there. So for the listeners, I would try datagolf.com.
It's good advice.
Okay.
It's good advice. Okay, this week we go to Riviera, Murph. Classic.
One of my favorites.
Have you been there?
Have you
No, I
played
have
it?
not. No, but I've watched it every year for how many years? I mean,
This is
used to be the
LA
LA Open. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that used to be. Now it's the Genesis, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm going to do my team live.
So key stats,
Yep,
though. LJ
yep, go
usually
for it.
covers
Yep,
this.
you
For
do
this
this.
particular golf course, you want to focus on driving distance. Okay. The bombers, the long hitters, tend to have a little advantage here historically. Fairways are tough to hit. So I liken it, and what I've heard the experts say is people are going to miss the fairways. The advantage comes who's further down, closer to the pin. Wedge in hand versus the guy having to hit a 7-iron out of the rough is going to have that advantage. So I'd look for those guys at driving distance. And then the greens are tough to hit. Strokes gained around the green would be the other data point. Those that are up and down specialists, look at that. And then course history. Those that tend to play well here continue to play well. So those are the 3 categories that I would focus on for those listeners.
Boom. And I got my team.
All right.
in that, and I had done.
Well-
Murph, we're in this where I tend to watch a lot of golf this time of year. Do you find to carve out time?
Oh yeah.
It's just-
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's a fun time of year the grass is green and we're turning the corner here. We're thinking about the golf season. So
Yeah, no, it is fun, and I do find it either in real time or the replay at night.
The replays. Yep.
Yeah, love the replays.
We have to touch on Tiger's playing. So his
correct.
first event back, 800 plus days since his last tourney, not counting match or a major.
Okay.
So I think if you're going to put him in your lineup, there's obviously risk here. I mean, to me personally, if he makes cut, that's a win.
That's the way I feel.
Right.
Yep.
But you never know. It's Tiger.
You
I
never
heard
know.
an interesting stat. He's never won at Riviera.
Oh, is that a fact?
He's
didn't know
taken
that. I
second.
wouldn't have guessed that.
Yep. Never won.
Huh.
Wow.
Anyway,
Wow.
okay. Mark, you're
Well,
itching.
you're on
Let's
top
go.
of the stats, Chuck, aren't you? Huh?
No, he's a stats guy.
I'm a
Yeah,
stats
yes,
guy.
look at that.
Okay, I'll lead off. I know we're up
Do
against
it.
the clock here a little bit.
You run with it.
All right. I'm going 2 heavy hitters, and then I'm finding a team that works after 2 heavy hitters.
Love it.
So I'm going McIlroy and Justin Thomas, 2 bombers.
Wow.
McIlroy is probably the best
Okay.
driver of the golf ball in the game, and Justin Thomas has played well here in the past. And he of course, they all bomb it. Well, they don't all bomb it, but those 2 guys can move it down the fairway. Hoagie's played well in the past here, and I tend to have him on every week's team, and I just find a way to, because I'm going to feel bad if he's not on my team and he wins some week, right?
Yep.
And then I'm following up with Nick Taylor,
Yep. Great. Last week he was phenomenal.
Canadian. I feel like he's going to feel like he's got some unfinished business.
Yep.
He's striking the ball really, really well.
I like it.
And then I did it. Oh no, I got Shane Lowry.
Okay. He struggled last week, but I think
Yeah.
he's a little rebound.
He is a bomber.
He's cheap this week.
And he's a value at 7,400. He was the best player available as I was trying to make up for taking McIlroy and Thomas.
Yep.
And then I did it. Tiger Woods is on my team.
Way to go, Mark.
I did it.
Way to go.
I like
got
it.
You got to do it. Got to do
It's a quarter, Murph.
it. Yes,
I'm spending 25
like
cents. But I'm trying to beat these guys. I've yet to finish first. I'm a perpetual runner-up.
It's true.
Well, that's more than that. It's worth way more than a quarter then.
Right. Last week they were ripping me because, well, how are you going to beat 100,000 people with that team? And I'm like, I'm not trying to beat 100,000 people.
Just trying to beat
Just
you
trying to beat you guys.
That's so true, isn't it? Yeah. Personal pride.
So, all right.
So
I like
that's
that
my
team.
squad.
I like it, Mark. Couple heavy hitters and then sprinkling in guys that are playing well other than Lowry, but he's low owned. A value pick. I like
Correct.
it. Okay.
And I'm hooking my wagon to McIlroy.
Yeah.
Rory, I think it wasn't his cup of tea last week.
Yeah.
He's going to play it. It's an elevated event. He's like owning the PGA Tour. He wants to be that good partner, but it wasn't his type of deal.
Well, he
Next
definitely
week's his deal.
falls into that driving distance.
Yeah.
Nobody hits it further than McIlroy. So I like that. That's a good play.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll go quick. I also have JT. He's anchoring my team as the top guy. I think Tiger's tourney, him and those 2 are buddies.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be just focused on performing well. Then I kind of went more everybody in that same price range in the 80s. I'm going driving distance guy, Wyndham Clark. He's top 5 guys in driving distance, and he's playing well right now. Matt Fitzpatrick. I think that guy's got the game for playing anywhere. He's a cut maker. I'm going Taylor Montgomery. He's a young guy, but he hits it a mile. So I'm going again, driving distance.
Isn't that my guy that missed the cut last week?
He is, right, but he was right on the number.
Okay.
Yep. Thigala, another guy that bombs it.
Bombs it.
He's my scary pick because that guy can either be close in the top 3 or he's going to miss the cut. But Thigala, he bombs it. And then my guy that's old timer, but he plays well here, Adam Scott. And he's just I'm hoping to make cut.
Classic guy.
Get in the top
Yeah.
25.
So we don't have Homa.
No Homa.
Either one of us.
Defending.
Neither of us. Yeah, he's
I
defending champion. It's not like he's playing bad, but
Nope, that's scary and Finau. Tony plays well there
Yeah.
too. So those 2 guys would be, if you got an opportunity to get them in, yeah. If you're gonna do multiple lineups, I'd have those guys sprinkled in.
I would agree. I just course knowledge is huge here, and being contention last year. Yeah, I wonder if a guy. I'll definitely do another lineup and throw those guys on.
Yep, I think that's safe. The other guy I would think about too is and last week he missed a cut, Morikawa. I think people are going to be off him, thinking he's playing poorly. He's tee to green, still there. It's just his putting was terrible last week. So if he can fix that wand, and he gets another guy to take a flyer on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what we do with a little fantasy talk.
That's
Murph.
fun.
Do you
That's
think
fun.
we're fools or
No,
Yeah.
no. I learned a lot just sitting here.
Yeah.
You know, I know who I'm cheering for now, and
Okay.
I agree with the Homa thing. I think that's you got to get him in there someplace. He's a great player, and I think he was too in FedEx Cup,
Yep,
and
that's
he's been playing well.
Yes.
So I mean, you know, it's he's one of those players like so many, but one of those players that plays bad and finishes 8th.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, he was
So-
super frustrated, but I think he was top 10, top 15 again.
Yeah.
He had a
Yeah.
bunker incident. I don't know if you guys saw the video.
Yeah.
I know he tweeted he was not proud of his performance. He threw his club after a shot.
Oh, yeah.
And he's, big social media guy,
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
social media guy.
Yeah.
So I think he acknowledged, I know he did. He said, not my best performance here.
yeah.
It's not like him.
No.
I like him this week. I do.
Yeah.
To defend.
Yep.
Scheffler
Solid.
defends.
Yep.
Could be 2 weeks in a row where we have a defense of a title.